morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Wednesday, the 12th of August, 2026. Just like I did yesterday, I'm pre-recording this ahead of the time the market opens. It's 6:33 my time. The CPI numbers just came out about 3 minutes ago, and the markets might still be digesting these numbers a little bit. They came in, and I can't count on I can count on one hand the number of times I've actually seen this. They came in almost exactly in line with what everything was estimated. Let me bring this on and show you real quick. It's kind of small on your screen, but the consensus for month over month CPI was 0.1. The actual came in at 0.1. The consensus for year over year was 3.4, came in at 3.4. Core 0.2, and core year over year 2.5, and those came in line as well. So it's like I said, I think I could maybe count on one hand the number of times that all of these numbers, the entire row right here of numbers, the month over month, the year over year, and the core, have all come in exactly where estimates were. I don't know that that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a good thing in the sense that there's no big surprise for today. Perhaps it's a bad thing in the sense that after last month's report, that was so much better than what the expectations were. I think a lot of people were hopeful for the same thing this time. They were hopeful for a report that was better than the expectations. It is good in the sense that it wasn't worse than the expectations. That certainly would have been bad news and would be rolling the markets right now over. Futures are all pointing to the upside. A lot of that is on some big earnings reports. I usually take a few minutes and read this every morning, this 5 things to know before the markets open. CoreWeave is one of the top listed things. You've got the this article was written before the CPI numbers came out, and it just said what I said yesterday. The focus would be on those. The primary voting that took place, there was a big, I think what was considered by a lot of people a big upset in the Democrat primary for the governor of Wisconsin. You had that really radical lady who hates all holidays and pretty much hates America, who was running against an also extremely far left, but establishment far left Democrat. And she was polling 15, 20 points ahead and actually lost by half a percentage point. So I don't know how that would necessarily affect the markets in a big way today. CoreWeave crushed it. That's going to definitely help the tech sector today. And those are the kind of the things that are driving pre-market stuff anyway. There's as far as our portfolio goes, as far as the trades that we watch and that we follow, CoreWeave is huge for our collar trade, and we'll be making an adjustment to that. I've mentioned this a couple times. I've got several adjustments I'm working on. With Palantir, we're almost certainly going to sell 100 shares of our position and use that money in to get rid of the short calls and reposition them, because we got short calls that are already deep in the money now, and then reposition our long puts. We have some adjustments that mean I'll make an adjustment to NVIDIA tonight on the collar trades. We have some short puts that are still, they're actually out of the money, but I want to roll them because I don't want to risk that something happens just in the last couple of trading days before they expire this Friday and suddenly they're in the money. So we'll make an adjustment to that. And then time to adjust Uber. And you'll probably get a bunch of collar trade adjustments this coming week. And for those members of the program that are a little bit newer, if you're not following us on any of the collar trades, just about any time we make an adjustment to a collar trade would be a good time to enter that trade for the first time if you're not in it and if you want to follow it along. Whether that's a virtual account, whether you decide to throw some real money into it is completely up to you, but that's a good time to do it. So we'll do that. On the spread trade side of things, SMCI had a great report. See if we can get, they were up 8 or 9% pre-market. So almost 10% pre-market now. Our long iron condor, this puts it $1.65 in the money. But you've seen over these last 5 or 6 months, if you've been with us for a little while, you've seen how easy it is in some cases for a stock to do really, really well immediately following earnings and then turn and go the other way within a couple of days. I personally think SMCI is probably heading back up to this 45 or 50 mark here. It had that big spike just a couple of months ago, then it had a big sell off. I think it's heading back there, but it may not be as smooth a ride as these 8 or 9 trading days right there that took it way to the upside. I don't think it's out of the question that could happen. I just don't know that it will happen that way. But I do think it's heading back there. But be smart. When you've got your target profit, get out of the trade. Our options on that one expire at the end of this week. I'm setting a limit order. I believe I have my limit order set for $1.95. It's only a $2 spread. Take that and get out as quickly as you can, just in case you get PPI numbers tomorrow morning that turn everything over and rock the market in a way that we don't want. You want to be prudent when it comes to things like that. Palantir looks like it's one of the few stocks that we follow or that we pay attention to that might pull back today in the midst of everything else being up a little bit. It's some profit taking with Palantir. I'm really not worried about this in a long-term sense for the trade that we have on. Our Palantir trade is going to be absolutely fine, in large part because it is a longer-term trade. Nothing has changed fundamentally since the earnings came out. They're having a couple of days where they're pulling back. I think it's ultimately going to be not that big a deal. You could honestly see them turn the corner and go up before the day is over today. But even a pullback to as much as 160 would not be a shock before they take off again. I haven't changed my belief that Palantir is going up to back up to $205, $207 or higher before their next earnings. And then if you're still in the Google trade, Google had a really ugly day yesterday. They're coming back this morning in pre-market. We still got a week and a half on this trade, and I still think I think yesterday was a little bit of a fluke. The one thing that has been just a little bit encouraging with this Google sell-off over the last few days is that with the exception of yesterday, volume has been kind of light. And you're right there on the verge of a crossover on the RSI, right there on the 5 and 20-day moving average. But the MACD is still in a bullish position. And that alone tells me that probably they're bouncing back up. I think by the early part of next week, they're probably back up to 360. We'll see if they can gain any momentum today and get ahead of steam in an upward movement. You could potentially see this whole market get on a roll today after a couple of bearish days. You could see it really take off and move to the upside today. There's no new news coming out of Iran that I am aware of, so it's kind of the status quo there. This broke 12 minutes ago. I'm surprised that's not the number one trending story. I'll have to read up on this and see what's going on here. I guess there is some breaking news in the Middle East. We'll see if that has an impact on what's going on. But I'm not going to comment too much on that right now. It's brand new breaking news. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up right there. I'm going to get this online for everybody, and I will be paying attention to the markets all day today. I'll be active on Discord, still looking for a trade or two to add this week, but we'll see how that plans out. All right, have a great rest of your have a great Wednesday, everybody. I will be back on live tomorrow morning. Thanks. Bye.